In 2013, Georgina Munasinger had a distressing problem. When her children were at school, a small number of other children were making frequent racist comments about their skin colour. It resulted in them being very upset about it when they came home, so she made the difficult decision for her children to change schools. But she also turned to the council's community safety team. They made use of restorative practices aimed at reducing the harm caused to the family. Georgina has since met up with Tim Reed from the community safety team to talk about the council's response and the difference it made to her family.
So, Georgina, if you could take us back in time to when the incidents first happened and tell us a bit more about what was going on for you and your family.
It started with my daughter all of a sudden not wanting to go to school and not wanting to play with her brother. And then, so when we questioned her more, she was saying that basically there was racist kind of abuse happening at school where kids were calling her poo skin and her hair was I can't remember, something about her hair, and so she wanted straight hair and she wanted white skin, and she didn't want to play with her brother because he's darker than her, and that's not right, you need to be white, which was really distressing because that happened to me when I was younger, and I don't expect it in this day and age. I expect that, you know, things like that don't happen as much. I know they do, but it was just really awful. So I just decided that I was going to change schools because I didn't want them to have to go through anything more.
So when you came to the community safety team, what was it that you wanted from us?
I wanted it to not happen to anybody else. I'm quite a strong person, and I'm quite outspoken, and kind of I have a professional knowledge of how schools work and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, I'm quite powerful in that way. The racism made me feel really like disempowered completely. I felt like a child again, and I didn't want anybody else for it to happen to, because if it happened to somebody that wasn't as strong as me, who couldn't speak out and say this is wrong and then just put up with it, I know the impact of racism on a daily basis through all of my school life. I had racism, and I know how that impacts on a child, on a family. And I just didn't want that to happen again. So I wanted to make sure that the school were on it and knew what to do when any racist incidents happened, whether they see it themselves or whether somebody reports it. I wanted everybody in the school to be able to handle that.
So we agreed that we'd write an impact statement for me to take to the school. Could you tell me a bit about what that was like to write and the process you went through to do that?
It was quite hard because obviously it brought back a lot of stuff from my past. We were going to move out of Brighton. It was that bad. I felt Brighton was hostile and not a nice place to live if you're an ethnic minority. And talking to the kids, I made sure that I talked to them so that they could put their voice across and how they felt. And particularly my daughter's self-esteem was absolutely rock bottom. She felt like she wasn't even a person, kind of thing. She felt like she didn't want to be who she was. She wanted to be white, and she kind of blamed me a little bit because she's like, well, if you weren't brown and if my dad wasn't brown, then I would be white, and I wanted to be. And I was with her, my partner's white, and so she was just like, well, I should be white because that's the way of the world. And so kind of writing that down, having to actually write it down and have that there concrete was really hard, but was really good because I think people need to understand that if you've never been through a racist incident, you can never ever really appreciate how that impacts on you, because you can't change the colour of your skin. Yeah, fair enough, she could straighten her hair, but it's still going to be, you know, there. The roots will come through, and that's it. That's our roots. That's who we are. And if somebody attacks who you are as a person, it's so hard to just shake it off. And even now, it still impacts on them.
So I then arranged a meeting at the school with the senior leadership team and some of the staff from the behaviour and inclusion team and presented the statement to them. Could you tell me a little bit about the outcome of that and what happened next?
So basically, the whole school staff, from kind of caretakers, teaching assistants, dinner staff, everybody got training on how to deal with any reporting of racism, which I think is pretty amazing, because it is so hard to be the only ethnic minority in a class of white children, which frequently happens in Brighton and Hove because there are so few ethnic minorities. And so I just wanted the school to kind of take responsibility and have some kind of action plan of, actually, you can report it to whoever you feel more comfortable with. Reporting something like that is really hard. It's really hard to tell somebody that there's racist abuse going on, because quite frequently, in my personal experience, I have had people saying, "Oh, well, you've just got a chip on your shoulder. It's not racist. It's just kids messing about," or things like that. So it's amazing that now I feel confident that anybody that is suffering from racism in that school can go to whoever they feel most comfortable with, and something will be done about it. So yeah, I feel more confident, and I feel more confident in staying in Brighton and having my kids being educated in Brighton.
Well, Brighton and Hove City Council has produced some clear guidance to schools for school staff to guide them in how to respond to incidents of this type, and training has been provided on top of that. However, it is clear on this occasion that Georgina reported the incident to the school, and unfortunately she didn't get the right action taken at the right time. I approached the school and attended with a colleague from the council's education team, and we presented our concerns that had been raised by Georgina's family, and they were incredibly responsive and very proactively requested some training around how to identify and record prejudice-based incidents, and also some racial equality training for school staff. So the outcome of our approach was really positive. I think it's a really good example of how the city's partnerships work very closely together to provide a safe and inclusive learning environment for all of our children and young people.